How could anyone survive this? A car is literally split in two.
From human error to cosmic disasters, these are the accidents that cost fortunes and changed history forever. Just like this nuclear nightmare that came with a staggering $2 billion price tag. Three Mile Island accident, $2 billion. In 1979, the United States experienced its most serious nuclear accident at the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant in Pennsylvania, a crisis that unfolded due to a combination of mechanical failure and human error. The incident began with a simple malfunction in the plant's cooling system, leading to a partial meltdown of the reactor core. As the reactor's core overheated, operators struggled to interpret the malfunction, which caused delays in corrective action. While only a small amount of radioactive gas was released into the atmosphere, the fear and uncertainty it generated were far-reaching. The incident escalated into a national emergency. Local residents within a 20-mile radius were advised to stay indoors, while some areas were even evacuated as a precaution. Though the release of radiation was minimal and did not result in immediate fatalities, the psychological impact was massive. Public trust in nuclear energy evaporated almost overnight, and the nuclear power industry in the US suffered a major setback. At its peak, the crisis held the attention of not just the country but the world, as everyone anxiously awaited whether the situation would worsen into a full-blown catastrophe. From a financial perspective, the aftermath of the 3 Mile Island accident was equally severe. The cleanup process, which took over a decade to complete, cost around $1 billion. Factoring in the loss of the plant, halted projects, and damage to the reputation of nuclear power, the total financial toll was estimated to be around $2 billion. This economic blow effectively stalled the construction of new nuclear plants in the US for years. More importantly, it led to the implementation of stricter regulations and far more intense oversight of the nuclear industry, permanently reshaping how nuclear power is handled in the country. Prestige oil spill, $5 billion. From the 3 Mile Island meltdown, we now shift to another costly disaster, the 2002 Prestige oil spill off the coast of Spain. Unlike the technical failure of a nuclear plant, this disaster occurred at sea when the Liberian-flagged oil tanker, the Prestige, encountered a severe storm while carrying 77,000 metric tons of heavy fuel oil. The spill's impact extended far beyond the immediate casualties. Entire ecosystems were decimated, their delicate balance shattered by the intrusion of toxic chemicals. Coral reefs, once teeming with life, were reduced to eerie ghost towns, their intricate structures smothered by a suffocating film of oil. Kelp forests, vital breeding grounds for countless species, withered and died, leaving behind barren underwater landscapes. In the aftermath of the disaster, cleanup efforts are underway, but the scale of the task is daunting. Teams of workers are deployed along the affected coastlines, meticulously removing oil from beaches, rocks, and other surfaces. However, the process is slow and painstaking, and it may take years for the environment to fully recover from this environmental catastrophe. The financial cost was enormous as well. The cleanup operations, which took years to complete, racked up a bill of around $2.5 billion, but that was only part of the story. Legal battles between the ship's owners, insurers, and various governments dragged on for years, adding another $2.5 billion to the total price tag. The aftermath of the disaster led to major changes in international regulations for oil tankers, pushing for better maintenance standards and stricter guidelines on how these ships are built and operated. Piper Alpha oil rig disaster, $6 billion. Building on the heavy toll of the Prestige oil spill, let's turn our attention to one of the most devastating disasters in the oil industry's history, the Piper Alpha oil rig catastrophe. Located in the North Sea, the Piper Alpha platform was a linchpin in the offshore oil industry, operated by Occidental Petroleum. In the late 1980s, it stood as one of the largest and most productive rigs globally, vital for satisfying the growing global demand for oil. On July 6, 1988, the Piper Alpha rig was struck by a catastrophic explosion that has since become infamous. The disaster began with a gas leak from a faulty safety valve. When the escaping gas ignited, it triggered a massive explosion that sent a fireball soaring into the sky. This initial blast was only the beginning. It was followed by a series of secondary explosions that rapidly spread the fire across the platform. The sheer intensity of the explosions and ensuing fire rendered the rig a blazing inferno, making rescue efforts perilous and chaotic. Exxon Valdez oil spill, $8 billion. Continuing from the Piper Alpha disaster, let's turn to the Exxon Valdez oil spill, a catastrophic event that stands out for its immense financial and environmental impact. In March 1989, the Exxon Valdez, an oil tanker transporting crude oil, veered off course and struck a reef off the coast of Alaska's Prince William Sound. This tragic accident resulted in one of the largest and most damaging oil spills in history. The collision caused approximately 11 million gallons of crude oil to spill into the pristine waters of Prince William Sound. The spill wreaked havoc on the environment, contaminating thousands of miles of coastline and wreaking havoc on marine ecosystems. The financial toll of the Exxon Valdez disaster is estimated at a staggering $8 billion. This figure encompasses the extensive and prolonged cleanup efforts, which involved hundreds of miles of shoreline being scrubbed and rehabilitated, a monumental task that required substantial financial resources and manpower. The Exxon Valdez spill remains a stark reminder of the environmental and financial consequences of oil transportation. It underscores the critical importance of rigorous safety measures and the need for robust contingency plans to mitigate the impact of such disasters. Space Shuttle Challenger explosion, $8.5 billion. Shifting focus from the Exxon Valdez spill, let's examine the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster, an event that profoundly impacted not only the space community, but also the nation. On January 28, 1986, just 73 seconds after liftoff, the Challenger exploded, tragically killing all 7 astronauts aboard and marking one of the darkest days in space exploration history. The catastrophe occurred due to a critical failure in one of the shuttle's solid rocket boosters. The issue was traced back to an O-ring, a rubber seal designed to prevent hot gases from escaping the joints of the booster segments. On that fateful day, the O-ring failed due to the unusually cold temperatures, allowing hot gases to breach the booster's casing and ignite the fuel, leading to the explosive destruction of the shuttle. The subsequent investigation revealed serious flaws in both the decision-making process and NASA's safety protocols. It became clear that warnings from engineers about the O-ring's performance in cold weather had been overlooked, reflecting a deeper issue of communication and risk assessment within the agency. The Challenger disaster not only brought immense financial and emotional costs, but also led to profound, long-term changes in how NASA conducts its missions. It underscored the critical importance of rigorous testing, transparent communication, and thorough risk management. Northeast Blackout of 2003, $10 billion. Moving on from the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster, let's turn our attention to the Northeast Blackout of 2003, a massive power outage that struck the northeastern United States and parts of Canada on August 14, 2003. This unprecedented blackout began in Ohio and quickly spread, ultimately affecting over 50 million people across a vast region. The blackout had profound effects on daily life. Public transportation systems ground to a halt, leaving millions of commuters stranded. Businesses, especially those dependent on electronic systems, faced operational shutdowns, causing significant disruptions. Hospitals had to rely on backup generators to maintain critical functions, and some areas experienced shortages of essential services. The total economic impact of the blackout was estimated at around $10 billion. This figure encompasses lost productivity, emergency response efforts, and the extensive costs associated with repairing and restoring the power infrastructure. In addition to the immediate economic damage, the blackout exposed significant vulnerabilities in the power grid. The incident led to major reforms aimed at enhancing the reliability and monitoring capabilities of electrical systems. Space Shuttle Colombia explosion, $17 billion. Continuing from the Northeast Blackout, we now turn our attention to the Space Shuttle Columbia disaster of 2003. On February 1, 2003, the Columbia, which was returning from a successful mission, disintegrated upon re-entry into Earth's atmosphere. The disaster was caused by damage sustained during the launch. A piece of foam insulation broke off from the shuttle's external tank and struck the left wing. This impact created a hole in the thermal protection system, which allowed hot gases to penetrate the wing during re-entry. The result was a catastrophic failure of the shuttle structure. The Colombia disaster also served as a stark reminder of the risks associated with space exploration and the importance of rigorous safety measures. In the wake of the disaster, NASA implemented numerous changes aimed at improving the safety of its space missions and ensuring the well-being of its astronauts. 2020 Beirut Explosion, $17.5 billion. Following the Space Shuttle Colombia disaster, let's examine the devastating explosion that rocked Beirut on August 4, 2020. This catastrophic event was triggered by the detonation of approximately 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate, a highly explosive chemical compound that had been improperly stored in the city's port area for several years. The explosion unleashed widespread devastation across Beirut. The blast obliterated buildings within a substantial radius, causing severe damage to critical infrastructure and leaving an estimated 300,000 people homeless. The impact was felt far beyond the immediate destruction. The explosion severely disrupted the city's economy, destroying numerous businesses and exacerbating the already dire economic conditions in Lebanon. The ongoing aftermath of the explosion continues to affect Beirut. Recovery efforts are still in progress, with many areas yet to be fully restored. The disaster underscored critical issues related to safety regulations and the management of hazardous materials. Deepwater Horizon oil spill, $78 billion. Moving on from the Beirut explosion, let's examine the Deepwater Horizon oil spill, an environmental catastrophe with far-reaching consequences. On April 20, 2010, the Deepwater Horizon oil rig, operated by BP, suffered a catastrophic blowout. The explosion that followed was one of the most severe in recent history, unleashing a torrent of oil into the Gulf of Mexico. The environmental devastation was immense. The spill, which lasted for 87 days, released an estimated 4.9 million barrels of crude oil into the Gulf. This enormous quantity of oil spread over thousands of square miles, contaminating vast areas of ocean and coastline. Local economies suffered immensely as well. The fishing industry, a cornerstone of the Gulf Coast's economy, was hit hard. The contamination of fishing grounds led to a dramatic decline in fish stocks and rendered many commercial fisheries inoperable. Tourism, another vital sector for the region, also took a significant hit. Beaches and coastal areas, once pristine, were marred by oil slicks, deterring visitors and impacting businesses reliant on tourism. The financial repercussions of the Deepwater Horizon disaster were staggering. The total cost of the cleanup and compensation efforts is estimated at around $78 billion. This astronomical figure includes several key components. Chernobyl disaster, $350 to $830 billion. Finally, we arrive at one of the most devastating disasters in history, the Chernobyl nuclear accident. On April 26, 1986, Reactor 4 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine exploded, releasing a massive amount of radioactive material into the environment. The long-term costs of the Chernobyl disaster are staggering. The financial impact is estimated to range between $350 billion and $830 billion. This includes the costs of evacuation, decontamination, and medical treatment for those affected by radiation exposure. The disaster also led to the creation of a large exclusion zone around the plant, where cleanup and maintenance continue to this day. The Chernobyl disaster serves as a stark reminder of the potential consequences of nuclear energy mishaps and highlights the need for stringent safety measures and preparedness. As we conclude this exploration of the most expensive accidents in history, it's clear that the impact of these events extends far beyond their immediate costs, affecting both the environment and human lives for generations. The financial and human costs of these major accidents highlight the severe impact that such disasters can have. From the Piper Alpha oil rig explosion to the Chernobyl nuclear disaster, each incident teaches us the importance of rigorous safety measures and preparedness. What do you think is the most memorable accident you've heard of? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe.